my journey has been an interesting one. And I'm Latina. I was born in Colombia, and I came to this country at the age of 11.
Mm-hmm.
And that was quite a different time. When
Yeah.
I came here, I was the only minority in my entire school.
Mm.
Like literally, there was no other individual from any other race or that spoke any other language. And of course, I didn't speak English. So the
Mm-hmm.
principal said to my mom, hey, we can either hire a teacher for your daughter or we can just throw her in and see how she does. So of course, my mom said, throw her in. She'll be fine.
Uh-huh.
And, it was really challenging at first. Of course, I had no idea what anyone was saying.
Mm-hmm.
And why I chose to start with this story is because I think that's my biggest lesson in life.
Mm-hmm.
Growth is in the difficult situations we encounter.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a choice. You either crumble and you get stuck in the fact that you're in something difficult, or you look at it as a growth opportunity where
Mm-hmm.
you're really going to be able to learn and grow and experience something new from
Right.
that situation. So from there on, of course, I learned to speak English extremely quickly, just
Mm-hmm.
by necessity. But I really kept that with me throughout my life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what? Difficult situations, just go ahead and tackle them head on and you will be fine. So I think that was like always my biggest takeaway that I really learned at a very young age. If you look at my corporate career, I switched industries. I switched roles because my role was, do you want to? And my answer was always absolutely, because
Mm-hmm.
I find that we can spend a lifetime preparing for something
Mm-hmm.
or preparing for a position or preparing for our next step. But the preparation without action, you're just stuck.
Mm-hmm.
So I would always say, absolutely, I want to do that. Yes, I want to apply for that position. Yes, I want to, explore that opportunity. And then after, I would figure out how to actually make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
And what I found was that if you just work really hard and you lead by example
Mm-hmm.
and understand from day one that when you're leading individuals is not about you. You're last on the list. It's really about the individuals that you're leading
Mm-hmm.
and the impact you're having in their life and their performance.
So what did you do to kind of help you leave that very kind of stable job where you were doing really, really well, to something that may be a bit unknown?
Okay. So for me was I'm extremely analytical. Like I
Uh-huh.
like to have a full picture. So really what I did is I said, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to start my own business and this
Mm-hmm.
is the type of business it's going to be. What is it going to take? So the first step is I wrote down everything I needed to do to make it happen,
Mm-hmm.
from leaving my job, from having to create an NLC or a
Mm-hmm.
corporation, from coming up with a name, logo, literally created a list of every single step that was going to be needed from
Right.
beginning to end to start my business. Then I said, all right, if I do this, what is the best that can happen?
Mm-hmm.
And how is that going to make me feel?
Mm.
And I really kind of took a step back and really looked at the whole picture. How will that change my relationship with my family? Will I be able to spend more time with them? What type of example would be for my niece and nephew? The whole picture of what would that look like? And I did the other side, right? What is the absolutely worst case scenario?
Right.
So if this goes upside down, what will happen?
Mm-hmm.
And wrote it down, everything. And then when I looked at the downside, it wasn't ideal.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't, pretty, but it wasn't as scary or as bad as I
Mm.
thought.
Right.
So it kind of crushed my fears a little bit. So
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, so if it goes wrong, I might have to like really budget for a while and go back to corporate.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried, and then I would be back to where I started. So I
Mm-hmm.
kind of did a whole analysis of what was needed in both sides, the
Mm-hmm.
positive, the negative, and I found that the positive way outweighed the negative.
Right.
And at that point, I just had to do it. So then the next step was, okay, I'm going to check off one thing of the list to
Mm-hmm.
get me one step closer. And I found that it was one step at a time. Okay, today I'm going to look at logos. Today I'm going to come up with a name. Today I'm going to register. And I
Mm-hmm.
started step by step, just slowly knocking things off.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that uncertainty is so scary
Mm-hmm.
because you just don't know.
Right.
But I feel by doing this exercise, you kind of crush the unknown anymore because
Right.
you already explore all the possible avenues,
Mm-hmm.
which makes you way more confident, and it makes you way more aware of really how valuable it could be if you pursue what you're trying to accomplish.
So what were your next steps after you said, okay, I'm moving forward. I have this list of things. How did you tackle some of the, bigger things on the list that you were like, I know I have to do this. I have no idea how to do this, but I'm just going to move forward. What was your kind of, how would you break that down?
Okay. So I find that it's a lot easier. Things that are smaller are
Mm-hmm.
more attainable. And not only that, but they give you a sense of satisfaction because you
Mm-hmm.
can cross them off. So I wouldn't put things down like create an entire workshop,
Right.
because I would look at that on a Tuesday morning and be, where do I begin?
Mm-hmm.
So what I would do is I would actually take that and break it down. So I would say, okay, I need to create a workshop.
Mm-hmm.
What book am I going to start with? So it would be pick the book.
Mm-hmm.
I picked the book. So I'm marking it off. And then my brain is going, yay, great job. And then after that, I'm going to put read 100 pages and create outline.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to make it into very small goals.
Mm-hmm.
Create total outline, create slides, maybe narrow down slides,
Mm-hmm.
do a few recordings, do a few, do one trial run.
Mm-hmm.
So I would, instead of just doing one big step, just break it down into tiny, tiny little steps, because
Mm-hmm.
that's, like I said, way more manageable, way easier to tackle. And each time you complete a step, your brain registers it as a reward.
How did you gain clarity on your strengths and then leverage that to help you shift in that career path, right? Because you were able to identify your purpose, you knew what it is that was really kind of pulling you towards launching your career and creating, the whole Books Made Easy. Um, how did you come across, or how did you really hone in on what are those strengths and what would really help you be successful in that endeavor?
Okay. So I also feel that was a step process for me, because early in my career, I did an exercise that kind of helped me create a brand and kind of helped me create in my mind the type of professional I wanted to be. So what I did is I looked around, and then I really found and picked somebody I really respected in the business. And I
Mm-hmm.
picked a professional that I admired, that I said, okay, I would want to be something similar to that when I
Mm-hmm.
get to that point in my career.
Right.
So I kept them as a focal point, and then I said, what do they have?
Mm.
So I literally did a list. And you can see a lot of the things I do are lists, because I believe
Mm-hmm.
awareness
Mm-hmm.
is what helps people take action, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I created a list of all the things that person had. How she dressed, how she spoke, the knowledge she had, the knowledge, not only from school, but also presentation skills, also communication skills, everything that individual possessed.
Right.
And then I sat down and I said, okay, what do I have? what are my strengths right now and what are my areas of opportunity, because it would give me a very clear path of the actual skills I needed to work on to be the type of professional I wanted to be.
Right.
So say communication was one of them. So I
Mhm.
would say, all right, what resources do I have available to be able to improve my communication? And
Mhm.
nowadays there's so much
Yes.
that's a positive.
Yes. Mhm.
So I looked at books, which books are my love. They have always been. So I
Right.
always start with books. So I looked at books. I looked at videos. I looked at courses. I looked at all the resources I had available, and then I picked something to help me in that area. And then
Mhm.
I continued to do that throughout my career.
Mhm.
And then the to identify really your strengths or weaknesses, I believe like if you really look within, you will see what you're really good at, like
Mhm.
what puts a smile on my face.
Right.
And I found that every time I was coaching people, every time I was helping somebody maximize or achieve their potential,
Mhm.
it just a light would like be bright inside me.
Right.
And that's how I knew, okay, that is really where I need to be. That's
Mhm.
really the space where I need to be. And I would see also the things that I was not so good at, which
Right.
are the things that you would tend not to want to do,
Mhm.
or because they're more difficult for you, or procrastinate, or you would just, we're not as good in that area.
What would you say that women need to continue to do to accelerate their success in this kind of ever-changing digital age?
Okay, so I think the first thing we need to really have presence, like in our mind, through any pandemic, any obstacle, anything that can possibly go wrong,
Mhm.
is if it's important enough, you will find a way.
Mm.
So if you just started a new business and a pandemic started, everything stopped, and all of a sudden your contract's canceled, and you're going, oh my God, what is happening?
Mhm.
Of course, we're all human. So take that day, be sad, watch movies, feel bad for yourself, then pick yourself up, sit down, and know that there is a way. And if you really want to, you will make it work. Okay.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
then after that, just start looking at the different solutions, the different options. Know that, like we said before, in difficult situations is where growth is.
Mhm.
So then through this, you might find that you might need to develop new skills.
Mhm.
So you might say, you know what, I'm not really great at the computer thing. And now a lot of our world is that. Let me
Mhm.
take this opportunity to work on those skills. So always understand that as professionals and as professional women,
Mhm.
growth is essential, and always looking for the opportunities for growth,
Mhm.
whether it is learning a new skill or honing in to a current skill.
Mhm.
But understanding that that's how you're going to continue to grow, that's how you're going to continue to evolve, that's how you're going to be also able to help others. Um, and then, like I said, if it's really important to you, there is a way.
Mhm.
So find it, because as I mentioned before, I experienced the same problem with when the pandemic started, and
Mhm.
all my contracts canceled for my business, brand new business, and
Mhm.
I went from one of our best months to zero.
Right.
And I had my good cry, and I ate my ice cream and I watched my movies. And then I figured out a way. So our way was changing our workshops from 2-hour face-to-face workshops
Mhm.
to evolving into multiple books, 1 hour
Mhm.
workshop.
Mm.
And that worked well. But it took time for a while. I'm like, oh, I can't believe it. My business is going to go out. But then I picked up and I said, what new skills do I need to make this happen?
Mhm.
What do I need to adjust with my
Mhm.
current situation? And what do I need to really do to make it happen? And then you'll find solutions if you have that mindset.
the thing that will creep into most of us is the, imposter syndrome, or that, those fears or just limiting beliefs. What do you do to yourself to snap yourself out of it? Like you said, you allowed yourself the good cry and the pint of ice cream and all this fun stuff, to soothe yourself. But then what do you do to kind of take your mindset and just shift it immediately?
Okay. So I found that we all go through it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter how good you get at a certain skill or at what you do, those things always creep in.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually found from a book something that was really great to do that I implemented in my own life.
Mm-hmm.
So one is I have a happy box. So through your career, like I'm sure a lot of you have this where you got to think, because you did a great job, or you impacted somebody, or you received an email telling you how grateful somebody was,
Mm-hmm.
or you had an experience that you had an interaction and somebody gave you feedback and you're like, wow. So I would write that down in a paper and I would put it in my happy box. And
Mm-hmm.
then when I'm feeling like I'm not good enough, like, why would that company want to pay me that amount of money to do this? Like, am I really going to be able to deliver? I go to the happy box and then I read all the powerful and empowering things I've done with and for other people,
Mm-hmm.
and how my interaction with them has really had a positive impact.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of reminds myself that I can do it, that I am good enough. And then I also have a group of individuals that we are that for each other.
Mm-hmm.
So we are in the same, so we're all kind of contractors, and we're in the,
Mm-hmm.
webinar workshop world. And we
Mm-hmm.
find that we experience this a lot, especially when we get the larger contracts. We look at each other like, really?
Uh-huh.
And so we pick each other up, and I will say, hey, I'm feeling this way. And then, that person will be like, well, remember when you got this one, they hired you back 3 times. Do you remember when this happened, the feedback you had?
Mm-hmm.
So stop that. So you kind of surround yourself with individuals that get it
Mm-hmm.
and can remind you of all the great things that you have accomplished and how you really shouldn't be holding yourself back.